Okay, I want to know. What are we changing it to?
Well, are you going to do this on the show?
We're live right now.
Oh,
we're going.
Are you sure we're not?
Yeah, man.
This thing is working?
That's working, man.
So, as you may know, I got married 10 years ago.
Yeah.
No, like
Just the other day ago.
13 years
You
ago.
better get that right.
And, my wife has a big family in Hawaii. They're the Lucases.
Okay.
Yeah, Lucas is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so she was like, well, do you care if I just keep my last name? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And if we were going to have kids, we were going to maybe think about it then, but we didn't have kids. We just had dogs. And it turns out the dogs really don't care. They barely know their own names.
So they just don't listen to you. That's all.
Yeah, pretty much. No, so we decided that she decided that she wants to have my last name, Magnuson. And she's going to make Lucas kind of a middle name of hers. And then I'm going to make Lucas a middle name of mine. And then in honor of my friend Per Viking, I'm going to add his name to my name, Viking. Because, like growing up skating next to Per Viking, I just thought that was the coolest name ever. And he's my best friend. And anytime I can, I like to celebrate his memory because what a great guy and great skateboarder he was.
As I remember him.
Yeah.
I have my own story with him.
You had your own little run-in with him.
I did. I had a little run-in with him. I didn't quite get it. Anyway, it looks like we're up and running, and I want to welcome everybody to Skateboard Nation. And I have my guest here, Tony. I don't know if I should say Lucas Viking Magnuson.
Yeah, it's going to be something along those lines. We're still working on some details. It's a work in progress here.
Oh, fair enough. So, anyway, everybody, I just want to welcome you all to the nation. First off, with Tony, Tony and I go way back, like 1980.
Yeah, like way, way back.
Yeah, like 1980 is the first time I saw Tony come in. I was skating Del Mar, and he showed up and was skating along, and I just remember a guy who was completely killing it, ripping, and I was like, oh my God, who's this guy? Didn't speak any English. Remember that?
A little bit, come on.
Yeah, man, really, not really, but a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you a little bit. Anyway, as you're skating along, I think it was that trip I remember you took off, and then I think you came back a few months later?
Yes.
Okay, and then after that, I remember, man, like your fifth run, you broke your leg.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, man. And I just sat there and I was like, wow, this guy's done. Never skate again. Oh my God.
Not the first person who said that.
I guess I was wrong on that one.
Just a tad.
Yeah, no. But no, I totally remember you breaking your leg, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
And they scooted you away, and I was just like, and I truly believe that, like, he'll never skate again. Because back then, skating to your 20, 21, 22, you were an old-timer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like, hit the road, Jack, when you turned 21, 22. Because I remember I was probably on the verge of going to 21 in fear of my career. And next thing I know, boom.
I don't know if you know this, but I did an interview with the LA Times when I was 21. And part of the headline says, like, yeah, I'm 21, so I kind of feel like I'm the old man of the sport at 21. Like, how dumb could you possibly be? And how wrong, I had no clue. None.
Yeah, it was an amazing time. That's all I can say.
Oh,
but
for sure.
I just remember that I thought that I was like, yep, that guy is gone. Unfortunately, great skater. See you later. But then I remember he coming back with Per Viking, your buddy. And I just remember every time I drop in, he would drop in and cut me off.
Oh, yeah.
And he just did it like
snake. He was a little shit.
He was, man. And I remember I went to you and I said, look, I don't know who this guy is, man, but if he drops in on me again, I'm going to take him out. And unfortunately, I did. And he dropped in, I dropped in, and I went right across, and I know I hurt that kid.
As far as I remember, I think I was, inside a little bit happy about it because Per Viking was uncontrollable. He was just out of control. He's a smart guy too. I mean, he could push buttons. He knew how to get underneath everyone's skin.
He definitely got under mine that time. But
Yeah.
anyway, all right. So let's go back to the very beginning. Okay, your first sponsor. Who actually was it? Sure Grip? That was your first sponsor, or were you?
It was actually Bearflex. I mean, this is not entirely true because I grew up in Sweden. We had a whole skate scene there. I was sponsored by the local park. That was also the local shop. That was also the local brand.
Yeah, right.
And so we rode for them. They were my sponsors. I had a whole career in Sweden before I got here. And when I came here, Dennis Martinez saw me skate, gave me my first free skateboard in America. And so I have always been very appreciative of Mr. Martinez for that.
Yeah. Dennis actually did that for quite a few people. I mean, I just heard about it the other day that he gave somebody else, big time pro. Oh man, I can't remember now. I'll ask him like in a week or two when he comes on the show. I'll find out who it was, but yeah, he was really popular. So anyway, so he went from Veriflex, let's say, and that was Dennis's time when he was riding for Veriflex too.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that would have been like that was definitely 80.
It was like 81.
80.
And then I ran into Eddie Olguera, which was, my big hero at the time. I mean, he was essentially Tony Hawk before there was a Tony Hawk,
Right.
He was the guy that was inventing all the tricks. He was like the guy that everybody looked at, and he was amazing. There's no question about it.
Absolutely.
And I got to meet him and skate with him, and it was like this unbelievable thing, having seen him in magazines, sitting in my little town in Sweden, coming here and having that experience. And those guys were super cool to me, so yeah, that was definitely a rad time.
Wow, man, I can't believe it. So all right, so Veriflex, and then it was Sure Grip.
No, then for a hot second there, Veriflex was kind of getting done. They were going into selling to whatever big box stores. Yeah. Tom Inoue and what's alley guy?
Chris Drupal.
Chris Drupal. Hey, I'm old, man. I can't remember everyone's name.
Yeah, it's true, man. We get older and we forget a lot of stuff.
No, I have the
You're
saying,
gonna
man.
see that in the show.
I have the saying, if it didn't happen last week, I don't remember it.
It's so true.
7 days.
So true. Okay, I got it.
After that, all bets are off.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stropel and Tom Inoue had this company, which I also forgot what it was called.
Caster?
Yeah, it was Caster. Yeah,
Caster.
that's right.
Okay.
And Tom asked me to ride for them. They made these cool fiberglass boards because it was Watson that was making them. So I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. So I rode for them for a hot minute. And then, I mean, after that, I really rode for Uncle Wiggly.
Right.
Because they had come to me and asked if I wanted to ride their really high-tech foam Kevlar board. And I'm like, I'm watching this little, scrawny kid named Tony Hawk skate, and I'm seeing how freaking good he is. Obviously, everyone else has skated Del Mar, and I'm like, I needed every advantage I could get. Oh, so you have a better skateboard? Yes. Let me try it out.
Yeah, well, it was Tony that got me to quit skateboarding, so whatever. I get it, man. Tony did finger flip at Del Mar on his third try in front of me, and I was riding an 11-inch wide board, and I was like, there's no way in heck I'm ever going to be able to flip my board and do that.
Yeah, I was like, I'd gotten done having to skate and keep up with Para Viking. So I thought, oh, cool, I'm in California. There's no freaking Para Viking around here, And then there's Tony Hawk. I'm like, holy crap, that guy's so good, I mean, that's a tall order to try to
Absolutely, man.
hang tough.
I remember when Tony was coming up, and I felt bad for him because he was so good, and yet all these people were picking on him and talking smack, and to a little 11-year-old kid, man.
Yeah, it was.
That was
pretty
lame.
I don't actually remember any of that. I mean, I know about it now after the fact. I mean, Tony was just a kid at Del Mar that we skated with, and I was really, if anything, just inspired by how great it was and like seeing what was possible. I mean, the one thing that you give Hawk credit for is he invented a number of tricks that he didn't know if a human being could do that on a skateboard. I got to have the advantage of looking at someone else doing it first. It's a lot easier to come up with a trick
absolutely.
if you've seen someone do it. You know, he didn't really have that advantage. So I mean, I know he gets a lot of credit for it, but you essentially cannot overstate how amazing it was, the number of moves that he invented, given that he didn't see anyone else do it before him.
Absolutely. And he didn't have a coach.
Yeah, but coaches aren't really a thing in
Well, hey,
skateboarding.
man. I mean, okay, because I know guys who had coaches definitely had an advantage because
Like
had
who? Who
somebody
had a coach?
back in the day,
I
Eddie,
mean, I know Eddie did. That was it.
Eddie, and that same coach was helping Dwayne as well on certain tricks.
Yeah, I mean, Dale's
So
cool.
yeah,
You know.
so I'm just saying,
Yeah.
give credit where
Yeah.
credit is
Yeah. Yeah.
due.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, and nobody else had credit. We had no idea back then. We were
No.
just
No.
skating for fun and
Yeah.
trying to do the highest air or go the fastest or whatever we could do. I mean, that's how it was back then. It was a lot of fun on really crappy equipment. So anyway, all right. So we're moving along here, and so if we went from Veriflex now to Caster, then to Sure Grip.
No, to Uncle Wiggly.
Oh, Uncle
Wiggly's
Wiggly,
a huge
right?
important
Okay,
part.
yeah.
I mean, I did that for a year, you know, but I also was part of the company, you know, like first they gave me a part of the company, then I bought into some more. And you had three guys. There was Doug Ring, Pete Prokosian, I think it was, and Dave Omer. And they were all UCSD college students. Doug did engineering, Pete did marketing, Dave Omer did arts and photography. So they kind of had all the components that you need to have this cool little skate company, except the rider. So that was me. But I also got to learn. I kind of ended up with a little bit of a pseudo college career from hanging around those guys. Yeah.
Right.
And I was working at the factory. You know, we made our own boards. Doug had all these engineering applications.
Well, after you kind of got away, or I should say, I got away, and that's where I met you again was at Uncle Wiggly.
Yeah.
And that's when I found out you owned it and
Yeah.
everything else, and then it went into Magnuson Designs. That's
Well, so
from
the Sure Grip
Wiggly.
thing, I never
Okay.
rode for Sure Grip.
Okay.
But Steve Stedham, who was one of my best friends at the time,
Right.
he was working at the factory. He had gone to the Sure Grip guys and started Stedham Designs. And Uncle Wiggly was kind of coming to an end anyway. You know, skateboarding was growing. I couldn't really afford to send myself to contests and things like that, you know. So Steve was like, dude, you should come and do this thing with this company called Sure Grip. I'm doing Stedham Designs. You could do Magnuson Designs. And I was like, I don't know about that name, you know. He kind of talked me into it, you know, and great company. They were paying our bills, you know. They paid my travel to go to all these contests, put out the boards. They were paying us a pretty good royalty. You know, I just hated the name.
Oh.
So it only lasted like 6 months.
Which name? Magnuson?
Magnuson
Oh, okay.
Designs.
All right.
I just didn't like the name.
Okay.
I also didn't like the concept of it because I had these ideas that I wanted to build a skateboard company that was built by skaters for skaters.
Okay. Yeah. I remember that.
I didn't want to build a Tony Mag skate company. I wanted to have a skate team, you know, different.
Yeah. No, and that was back in the day when Sims, Al Peralta, like a lot of the companies were named, I mean, after people.
They were, but they weren't really pro skaters themselves at the time.
No.
I mean, George Powell wasn't
right.
exactly a
No.
pro skater.
No. They were skaters.
And
He was an engineer.
really neither was Tom Sims at the time. You know, he was at one time.
No, he was pretty much a skater.
Yeah, but like by the time we get around to the 80s, at that point, you know, Sims
Snowboarder.
was a cool name. Yeah. I mean, he taught me how to snowboard.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, to take a current skater, I mean, it's been done. People do it. I mean, Christian does it with Soy Skateboards. Amazing company.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
And he can get away with it.
Tony Hawk could certainly have done it.
He's done it.
Yeah, but he did Birdhouse. So he put a name on his company, and it's not just about him. You know, it's about a team. So it's a different paradigm.
Oh, he actually has Birdhouse and Hawk.
Well,
skates.
yeah, I know that. Probably,
Okay.
that's probably more of a license deal,
Yeah.
more for
Yeah.
commercial stuff, you know.
For his sponsors, yeah. But anyway, it's still Hawk and still looks really good.
Yeah.
Anyway, but okay. Yeah, because I think that's when I came back in, and I remember the Magnuson Designs, and then it went to H Street, and then I think you went to H Street after that, right? After.
But you know, it's not like I woke up one day and go like, "Oh yeah, it's H Street." That's not exactly how it worked. I had this Magnuson Designs. you know, like I went to skate camp, the first skate camp
Yep.
that Bobby G did
That's right.
in, you know, like 80, I don't know, 4 maybe, 5-ish,
85.
and met
Yeah.
Mike Ternansky.
Yep.
Cool dude, not a good skateboarder, but he did ride a little bit. And Bobby's camp was in a little bit of disarray, shall we say.
It was the first time. We didn't know what we were doing.
And I think
Yeah.
Mike was there to help him straighten out the mess, if there was a mess. But it seemed cool to me. You know, they had a ramp, they had a campus, and then they had this sidewalk between where you were supposed to stay and eat and where the ramp was, and it said no skateboarding on the sidewalk. I looked at that sign, I'm like, yeah, good luck with that, guys.
Oh my
So
God.
like my first encounter with Mike Ternansky was essentially coming to blows just about over the don't skate on the sidewalk, you know.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a few days in, you know, like I kind of took a liking to this guy, you know. He was obviously very smart. We stayed up at night. I was telling him of my ideas on how I really didn't like this Magnuson design thing. I don't want a company that's focused on me. You know, like I want to build a skate team. And I was kind of giving him the outlines of what H Street would be, you know. And he didn't really have a name at that point. And so he was listening to this going like, wow, that's really interesting. And, you know, we kind of made plans to go meet up at some point, you know, and there was a bit of a process on how the name came about. That's not something that just happened one day.
I remember.
I'm not so sure you do.
And I remember you going to the skate camp. Okay, because at that time I was selling. Remember, I was actually working for Gordon and Smith, and I was a sales rep for them
I don't
through.
totally remember that part.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
And then I talked to you at that day at Uncle Wiggly, and then you said, "Hey, well, why don't you go out and sell my board?" So I took all 5 of your boards, and I went out and I started selling them, and that's how I got involved in it
Okay.
as well. Okay, and
All right.
do you remember who went and picked up Mike at the airport?
No, not at all.
You had me do it.
Was it more than a week ago?
Right? You had me go down and pick up Mike, and you explained what he looked like, and I had to go down to the airport and find him, and I did, and then I brought him back to your house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that sounds about right.
yeah.
I think he had come down before because we met in Long Beach. I think he drove down. And I had my concave
Yep.
board with me. I was carrying it with me. I wanted to show him what the industry looks like. So I took him to I'd been, you know, a couple times to the Long Beach ASR show. I wanted to walk around there with Mike, you know. People kind of clowned the board, you know, like, oh, hell concave. Well, what do you want a board that's like that concave for, you know? And we're sitting there talking to different people. And, you know, we kind of made plans on how to do that. And then he agreed to come down. So I guess that's when you picked him
Yeah.
up. I was probably living with Dave Crabb in Mission Beach at that point.
No, well, yeah, down in PB.
Yeah, yeah.
Or Mission Beach. Mission
Yeah,
Beach. That was it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then that summer we ended up just having a huge like skate group gang at Mission Beach, you
I
know,
remember.
big Wednesdays and whatnot. And we used to go out to Mexico and go party like freaking nuts. And to drive down there, you had to pass by H Street.
Yeah.
H Street had a pretty cool curb on it, the one that Carney ended up skating.
Benny Vista High School.
Yeah, it was a high school. I don't remember what it was called, but it was kind of.
I grew up right
Oh
there.
yeah, that's right. You grew up. And when me and Mike had talked about a name for a company at skate camp, I told him kind of what I was looking for. I wanted a name that people could relate to, you know, that was definitely not my name. That was the one thing I was certain of, you know, but a name that people could relate to, you know, like if you lived in a big city, a small city, if you didn't live in California, and it was kind of like one of those drunken things, you know, like driving by H Street where that curb was, and it's like, yeah, fuck H Street, we're gonna, you know, and that's sort of how the name came about. But it took there's a long time before that actually becomes a company, and in the meantime, I was over at Uncle Wiggly making boards, and I got a phone call for some guy that wanted to sell me skateboards, thought we were a skate shop. I just looked up our name in the yellow pages. kids yellow pages, you have to Google what that is. That's not something that you know what it is. It doesn't exist anymore. So I explained to this dude that we're not a skate shop, we're a skate factory. And this guy goes, oh, wow, that sounds interesting. I would like to come down and visit you. And you're probably pretty sure who this is now that I just mocked his voice.
No.
Okay.
I didn't pick up on it.
So Dave Brown shows up
Oh my God.
at Uncle Wiggly.
Oh my God.
And he tells me that he's importing stuff from Taiwan and he wants to build, in addition to what he's doing, a skate company. And can we make the boards? I go, yes, that's what we do. We're a factory. We can make the boards. And he's like, but I need a name. I need a team. I need the whole thing. I'm like, well, I can build you all that, as cocky as you could possibly be.
Yeah.
So.
And your English was getting better.
Yeah, my at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
Lost most of the accent.
Oh, this is too funny.
So I go and pitch this company to Dave Brown. This is where Steve Schneer gets into the picture. I had talked to Steve. I go, look, I got this guy. We're going to put together a company. I can get you a sponsorship with this guy. I got a couple of other guys around. I went over there, made the whole pitch. And
was this one his house in La Jolla? Or was he had a building at that time?
No,
where was he selling it out of?
I think he was just selling grip tape out of his condo, more
Yeah,
YouTube
okay.
TC area.
Him and Mark Schmidt.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and Schmidt were doing that. Okay.
I think there was this tall guy named Jeff involved.
Oh yeah,
there was. Before Schmitty was even involved.
That's right.
So
No. Schmidt was first.
Maybe okay. All right, I don't totally remember that.
Yeah, I remember him too. Yeah.
And someone over there pitched him the whole deal, and they loved everything about it, except the name. The name I had pitched him was H Street Skateboards. They didn't like it. They wanted something with air in it because of Airwalk. Because Airwalk had come on the scene. They were kind of killing it. They wanted to coast off of their name or whatever. But Dave was like, I want the word air in it. Tony, can you come up with something that has the word air in it? I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll do my best. Call you in a few days. Went back, Mission Beach. And we came up with the name Airborne with an E on the end.
Okay.
That's how Airborne comes around. But I was about to give away H Street Skateboards to Dave Brown just for the opportunity to have a little manufacturing business at Uncle Wiggly. That's how close it was to just be given away, And when we had moved the ball a little further down the field on coming up with my crazy ideas on a skateboard company, there was no question about what the name was going to be. And then I had ran into Francesco Albertini from Italy,
Who I deemed as the worst guy ever as far as logo, and he came up with the best logo in the whole world. Francisco, if you're watching, I'm sorry about that, man. I still love you, brother.
Really texted him the other day. I still talk to him. We're still super good friends.
Talked to him in years.
And he's made some graphics for H Street as of recently. He sent me a mock-up of something the other day. I'm like, yes, that looks great. Can you go do the artwork? I haven't heard back from him.
Okay. Well, it's funny because I remember when we were pitching H Street, okay? And I remember going to Dave Brown's as well. And my story is we went to his building that was on, was it Miramar Road? It was on Miramar Road.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah, Miramar Road. And we went in there and we walked into the front and we basically tried to pitch it to him. And he just looked at us like we were three clowns. It was me, you, and Mike. And he just looked at us like, I'm not interested right away. And we were like, oh, okay, well, then we're out of here. And then afterwards, we met up with George. You guys went up there. I didn't go up on that trip. And then
that was later, though.
That was later.
Yeah, there was one time when we went to Dave Brown going like, well, you didn't like the name, but now we've built a company with it. Do you want to do this? We kind of ran around the whole industry pitching H Street with somebody,
Right.
And that's how we ended up at George's place. He was interested in doing it.
Okay. Yeah, I just remember, but I remember going into that building. It was a huge building. They had everything.
Yeah.
They had everything. And they pretty much gave us the worst cold shoulder in the whole world and was like, all right, man, let's go. Let's let's go to the next one.
To his defense, so did everyone else.
Yeah. No, I know. I remember. But
nobody wanted to hear about some Swedish meatball and some dude from Northern California that nobody knew about doing some skateboard company that was different than the other skateboard companies. it wasn't the most interesting thing at the time.
They kind of regretted it, I think. I know Dave did.
Well, I mean,
So-
given the success that it had
Yeah.
in a very short amount of time, it was pretty unprecedented.
Yeah, nobody expected to do that.
No. And you know, I didn't either.
Yeah. Hell no, man. We had a good team though. That was the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we had everything, and it went really well. Remember working in God, I remember the PB, one of the places. I think it was PB or Mission Beach. I can't remember. I don't remember the border is over there. It's all the same. But I remember your printer running all night long.
Oh yeah.
Like multiple times where we got kicked out of that place, or you got kicked out of that place. Then you moved to another place. You got kicked out of that place.
Oh, we got kicked out of
And
so many
then
places.
it was Tierra Santa.
Yep.
And moved up there. And then I remember that's when Danny Way got involved with us.
Yep.
And then we got kicked out of there.
Yeah.
And then you bought a house.
Well,
There was
Scripps-
one other place, but
Scripps Ranch was
Yeah.
before that,
Yeah.
and that was
that
like
was a team house.
the H Street house.
Yeah.
You know, the team house.
Was that like the concept? I don't remember, but was that like a concept we came up with? Like, yeah, a team house with everybody, or did we just move in? And then
No,
it
I think
became
we
a team
moved in,
house?
and yeah,
It
I
just
think it was
became
just
that way.
yeah, it
And
just
everybody hung out.
yeah, it just organically
there. Okay. Yeah, because I think
transformed into
I remember us having to go and talk to the neighbors and
Yeah.
just like, look, we're young, we're not drug addicts, we don't do drugs,
We're
we're
just skateboarders.
skateboarders.
Yeah.
That's it. And we
Don't
have a
worry.
lot of kids here, and we're not gonna have any trouble. and everybody was really cool about
Yeah.
it until we built the ramp in the backyard. And the
Did
one
that house
neighbor, I
have it?
think,
No, the ramp was in the other house that I then bought in Scripps
oh,
Ranch.
I thought we had a mini ramp there though too.
No, I don't
No?
think on
Okay.
Ironwood there was a mini ramp.
Oh, okay, just a dog.
Yeah.
It bit a couple of those kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, they antagonized her.
Yeah.
I gave her permission.
Your Dalmatian.
It was.
Yeah. I remember that dog.
Yeah, she bit a few.
Yeah.
Oh well. That house was absolute chaos, and I felt bad for the people that we left that thing behind, because that house was trash.
Yeah, it
when
was
we
kind of
left.
crazy. Yeah.
But they kept your $1,000.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Okay, so back to skating. Let's see. So we're like talking 86, 87 right now. Starting in 88, the first video comes out. Shackle Me Not. Okay. Yeah, 87, 87. But, you know, we were filming around 86 and telling
Yeah.
everybody what was going on and trying to make a difference. That video, you know, Pal Peralta came out with their Chasing Animal Chin or whatever.
Yeah, in Search of Animal Chin.
Yeah. in
So,
search of.
you know, me and Mike had been up and saw the premiere of Animal Chin,
Yeah.
you know, in Santa Monica. I mean, full Hollywood production, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, Stacey knew what he was doing, you know,
Yeah.
he was working with 35 millimeter film cameras and, you
Yeah.
know,
The real stuff.
yeah. And I was like, wow, that thing's pretty amazing. You know, I kind of thought it was a little bit on the goofy side, some of the skits and whatnot.
Yeah.
And me and Mike are driving back, you know, it's like 2 a.m. where we're driving back, and he's sitting there telling me that, like, yeah, great movie, but, you know, Tony, we're going to do something that's way better. We're going to get these VHS cameras, and we're going to, like, just film skateboarding. And he had this whole pitch, and I'm sitting there listening to him, and just, that's crazy talk. Like, how's that going to happen, you know? Why would someone pay attention to essentially what he was talking about, home movies,
Yeah.
you know? And it turns out that everything he said that night to me turned out to be 100% true.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I mean that's one of the things that I don't know that I would have never thought of it. I certainly wouldn't have gone and created it. That is Mike Ternansky, 100%. You know, he did that, and it was amazing. You know, and as great as he was, I don't think he had any ideas that, like, I'm gonna make something that people are gonna pay attention to for decades.
Yeah.
You know, and come somewhere like, say, 2022, they're gonna, like, show this on a big live screen. Did you know that someone actually had a showing in San Francisco at the Balboa Theater? Shackle Me Not, big screen. Everybody went down there and saw it. It happened over this last weekend.
Wow. Yeah, no idea.
It's insane.
Yeah. And you weren't invited?
I knew about it. I mean, if I would have been a little smarter and perhaps a little younger, I certainly would have gone up there. I mean, Ron Allen was there. Ray
really?
Simmons flew out
No way.
from Colorado to this thing.
Man, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
At that time, we called the second half of the Not the New Age video the Summer Tour video. Like Not the New, the Summer Tour video was never really finished the way Shackle and Hocus was. It had only been shown at a couple of trade shows in promo format, So for the first time ever, here's the 8th Street Summer Tour
So I
video.
didn't even really know that much about it, and I've been texting Ron. I texted him going like, "So, how was it?" And he's like, "Dude, it was freaking amazing. All those people were there." I'm like, "All right, let's talk," because I wanted to kind of do a post about it, but I wanted to hear what he had to say.
Yeah.
And we've kind of phone tagged each other for a couple days, and so I don't actually know what happened.
You know what's amazing is like we are Mike, you, everybody put together such an amazing H3 team. You know, and how many of those guys are like in the Hall of Fame now? Like,
Yeah,
how many of those
a bunch.
guys deserve to be in the Hall of Fame that just hasn't had the time to get there yet?
Yeah, most
know,
of them.
Yeah, I mean, incredible skateboarders. So many of them. I
Yeah.
mean, they like reignited skateboarding at that time. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just our team, obviously. I mean, there was a whole movement that happened, and you can say that H Street, we were a little bit lucky in having just caught a bolt of lightning at the right time in a way that looking back at it now was obviously unprecedented and just amazing, Uh, I mean, we probably had a hand in creating it, but so did a lot of other people. It's not like we made it.
Well, I think the video promoted it to a point, and a lot of people followed along.
Oh yeah, no,
They jumped on the wave.
it's true. I've actually
And I'm going to say that. You know, I mean, yeah, of course, Santa Cruz had amazing teams. Palo Peralta had, a couple. You know, they started to actually get street skaters at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that team was loaded with vert. But even those vert guys were all super street guys. You know, I'm sorry, but Hawk won like I don't know how many street contests he won.
yeah, he won a
And
bunch of
I
street
don't know how
contests.
many Caballero won. But
Several.
Stevie, yeah. I mean, all of them, man. I don't care.
Yeah.
They all killed it and did
Yeah.
it. So, but I'm just saying, as far as like technical street, that first video I mean, it blew everybody away. I know I was doing sales, and I went from calling people to not having enough hands to answer all the phones that
Yeah.
were calling in.
Yeah.
So that was an amazing time.
It was bananas.
So yeah, man, it was, and we were riding a wave, and that we just never thought was going to end.
Yeah.
So let that be a lesson. If you guys are going to start a company, the wave ends. It really does. As good as it goes. I mean, unless you're like Pal Peralta,
Well,
then you
I
get to recreate a new wave. And
You look at Powell, you
So-
look at Santa Cruz, those guys have been around consistently since then. They've done a great job.
Yeah.
I mean, they're amazing companies. Santa Cruz arguably hasn't necessarily had some of the most high profile riders,
yeah,
but they're a great company.
Yeah.
And you look, obviously look how successful Independent has been,
yeah. Well,
I
no
mean,
doubt about it.
Are there
Well-
any other trucks or are they the only one?
Hey man, you're talking to Goldwing from life here.
Yeah,
So,
I've
you
been
know.
doing this for like 15
I'm
years.
sorry, man. I will always Walt Teague. Thank you.
Yes, but
Um,
isn't Goldwing a longboard truck now?
It is. No, I mean they do have longboard trucks, but they still have the pro trucks too. So there you go. Man, taking a swipe at me.
Hey, I was sponsored by Goldwing too. I
I
remember
know you
Goldwing.
were. Man.
Yeah,
I mean, we had an amazing team at the same time.
Yeah.
But
they were great.
anyway, just too much fun. But okay, so H Street Riders. Can you name? I mean, like who the standouts other than, of course, Danny Way and Matt Hensley
have
and
some
Ron
obvious-
Allen, of course.
Yeah, you have
Like
Ron Allen, you have Hensley,
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm thinking of the boards that came out. Colby Carter, was another guy who just
he was a little more next generation.
He was the newer ones.
Separation there. There is the original team, and then you have essentially the next generation guys. Colby Carter, Jason Rogers, Alfonso Rawls. I mean, even though Alf was in Hocus Pocus, he's more next gen. He's kind of a little bit on the borderline there. You could draw a little bit of his distinction there. Like obviously.
yeah, he was the end of the first gen.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, you had Godoy's, you had
oh yeah,
uh,
backside Ollie Godoy, man,
Mhm.
huge.
John Saunders.
Yeah, Johnny was awesome too.
There was definitely an amazing group of skateboarders. Sal Barber. I think.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. Just comes out from Louisiana.
Yeah. And he came out with
the swamp rat. You know?
who he came out with somebody else that was a really good friend of his.
I don't know.
Oh man.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But hey, whoever that was.
Yeah, whoever that was.
Hey Sal, call in and let us know.
And you know, you look at Sal. You know, when Sal came out, he wasn't just an amazing skateboarder. You know, Sal, he had a sharp mind. He came out and had an opinion.
Oh yeah.
You know, and he contributed to the direction and the art of H Street tremendously.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you look at what he's done since then. You know.
Okay, so I remember him working with Scotty Obradovich, Scotty man, and he did a lot for H Street. Who else helped Scott? I can't remember. There was somebody else was in there.
Well, I mean, there's 3 original artists. You know, there's Scott Obradovich, that was more the production guy.
Oh, okay.
He did do some graphics, but he mainly did kind of what I do now. You know, took artwork and turned it into something that can actually be printed. You know, made it more professional. And then you had Francesco,
Okay, that's right.
that created some of the best graphics, and he created, you know, both original logos.
Yes.
And that Mark logo, the arrows that he did, you know, he was going back and forth to Italy. I don't know if you knew this or not, if I've said this at different times, but he would go back and forth to Italy because he loved California and skateboarding, but he missed Italy. So he'd be here for a few months and be like, oh, I must go back to Rome. I have to be able to walk down the street and get some pizza. I'm like, dude, just order from Domino's. Like, no, Domino, you don't understand. It's not the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
So he'd go back there and then he'd call me, oh, I miss California. I must come back and ride skateboard on the boardwalk.
Yeah.
We don't have a boardwalk, you know, like, I'm like, well, come back. I mean, he was just back and forth, right? And one time he called me and he goes, you know, like, I can't mock his voice too. So he's telling me that he made a new logo. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you know, show it to me when you get here.
Yeah.
You know, what time to get in? Like, all I need to know is what airport, what time, what day, you know? So I go pick him up and he's telling me about this logo. And I'm like, all right, well, when we get to there's no reason for you to tell me about it. You know, when we get back to the house, show it to me.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Describe a piece of artwork? You know, like, I'm not going to do anything with that. So we get back and I'm sitting at my desk. This is on Ironwood, H3 House. Right?
Yeah.
And he takes out this logo and I'm like, all right, well, show it to me. And he puts it behind him, right? And I'm sitting at my desk kind of like this. Are you going to show this damn logo? I've not heard plenty of it. Oh, no, Tony, I must tell you. I must tell you about the logo. I'm like, you don't have to tell me anything. Just show it to me. Like, no. Let me tell you. And so he goes on and he talks to me for a good, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes about this logo and what it means and what it's going to mean, right? He's building this thing up to be the greatest thing ever. And it's kind of like, you know, if you go see a movie that someone has done this to, you know, like, it's kind of hard to actually like the movie because you're so full of expectations that when you actually see the movie that your buddy thought was the greatest thing ever, you're like, huh, I wasn't that good. So then finally when he's done, you know, I realized there's no reason for me to protest. I'm just going to let him talk until he's done. I'm just sitting there listening. And he finally runs out of stuff to say about this logo. And he goes, and he holds it up. And I'm like, that's 4 arrows. I'm not sure that means what you just said it means. Like, I don't get it. You know, and I don't totally remember all the stuff that he said. But whatever he said, you know, I kind of generally remember it, you know, he was 100% correct in what that logo was gonna mean for H Street.
Well, I remember seeing that logo, and I just looked at it like, what the frick, man? He's copying a street sign. Like, you know, you put a lot of thought into this, Francesco. Good job. And I kind of mocked him. And then, later it turned out, man, it was one of the best logos ever.
He's one of the greatest logo in this industry.
Yeah, it's definitely a good logo. But, yeah. But anyway.
And the logo next to it, that was the first logo that he did. He did the type logo first, and then he did he created, that's Francesco's creation.
Or you did that.
That's type. That's not a logo.
He that was 40 something years ago.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, so it's still up to date, and it's still, you know, still running the company.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Yep. Okay, so we have probably Shackle Me Not comes out. Everybody gets hyped. Everybody's going crazy. A year and a half later, the next video, Hocus Pocus, hits. And I think that was the video that really set the team like
Yeah, it
like
did because it was riding off of an enormous wave already.
Yeah.
So you already had a fire, and it's just like pouring gasoline on it. Yeah, it's gonna freaking explode.
I just remember um okay, there was like 50 guys on the team, probably.
Yeah,
Pretty close. And I just remember at that point, we were sending 10 guys off to every part of the United States, like in a van, on another tour, on whatever. I mean, people they were gone all the time.
Yeah.
I know we drove Matt Hensley crazy. Ron Allen went crazy because it was nonstop.
Yeah.
Those guys never got a break. And we had no idea. We just thought, oh, go have some fun, go on tour. It wasn't nothing like the tours I went on that these guys went on.
And when we did Hocus Pocus, me, Matt, and Ron, and I think we had a couple other guys, but the three of us, we went on a 30-day European tour where we were showing the video, doing demos, and I think we did like 20 stops in 30 days. Now, if you're a professional band, it's really nothing.
Yeah.
If you're just a bunch of dumb skateboarders,
Yeah.
there was a lot of stuff getting lost, trains getting missed, schedules getting rearranged, and
You're dealing with kids and they have no idea.
yeah, we were all kids,
That's true.
The bands have a tour manager, that knows what's up.
Right.
They have buses that they go on, so it was hectic. Yeah, it was fun. We had a super rad time, and yeah, it was insane what that video did. So yeah, Shakamanot and then backed up by Hocus Pocus. But I'll say this: I actually think Shakamanot is a better video. I was actually, when I first saw Hocus Pocus, because it was Mike and Mike McIntyre. I was almost a little disappointed in the format. I didn't think it was as fun, as organic, and as just easygoing.
Sloshbach in on that?
No, Schlossbach had
Come
done
in.
Shackle.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so Mike had worked with Schlossbach
Right,
for Shackle,
right.
and then I kind of think they had a falling out, if I remember it right.
I think that came later.
There was some kind of
Yeah, that came later.
problem,
Yeah.
and
Sloshbach started his own company.
but that was much later.
Yeah.
But I think they had an issue because I think
Okay.
if everything would have been like, peachy keen,
Yeah.
there's no reason why he wouldn't have just continued to do the next one. I don't actually remember what Mike said at the time, but he's like, yeah, we got this new guy, Mike McIntyre. We're going to blah, 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 I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, man, it's your deal. So,
Okay, so we got through the 8th Street and the videos and stuff. I mean, is there anything that you remember that was over the top on that? Like...
I mean, too many things, I think that, I'm sure you were there when we did the premiere at the Park movie theater of Shakamanot.
Yeah.
And Schroeder and those guys were there throwing a smoke bomb the whole thing. We had to stop it halfway
Yeah,
through and we
I
had to
remember.
clear out.
Yeah.
And he made a comment on Instagram the other day, and
Did he?
yeah,
Uh,
something about the premiere of Shakamanot was great, and I kind of chimed in and go like, yeah, greatest premiere ever. Thank you. At the time, it obviously wasn't that much fun. Motherfuckers here,
Yeah.
like interrupting our premiere. But looking back at it now,
It was beautiful.
it was absolutely
Yeah.
awesome.
Good for Schroeder, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the park never had a skateboard premiere
Again.
again
Yeah.
after that.
Oh man. Okay. All right. So after 8th Street, I mean, came to kind of a halt. Let's just say that. I know things got crazy at that time, and
I mean, Mike went and did Plan B.
right,
So that's what we end up with next generation.
right,
I had to work with our remaining partner, George. But skateboarding was going towards kind of a downfall. But we were trying to figure out how to have relevance in a declining market. That was definitely tough.
Yeah.
Uh,
kind of like we're seeing right now, actually.
I wouldn't say
Little
so.
No.
No.
Okay.
Come to that later if you want.
Okay. All right. I just know there's a billion boards on the market right now.
Skateboarding was just in the
Yeah.
Olympics.
Yeah, I know. And you don't want to. You want to start on that because I've got that
Sure,
written
yeah,
down
we can go
here.
back to- you can go
No,
back
no,
to
no,
that.
no, no. Because let's finish up on the H Street thing. Okay.
Yeah, so
'Cause-
at a certain point, I switched the whole thing into Evil Skateboards.
okay, but okay.
And that was actually a pretty smooth transition. It was just out with the old, in with the new.
Okay.
Ran an ad.
Just so everybody knows too, it was evil. The love backwards.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
Yeah.
It was a
Gotcha.
play on
Okay.
words, dichotomy.
Right. Actually, it was brilliant. You
Yeah,
know?
but you know what I didn't like? I didn't like the fact that a lot of people pronounced it evol.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
And they thought it was short for evolution or something,
Yeah.
you know. I'm like, oh, that's so goofy. That's not what it is, you know, like, and it wasn't like social media. So kids, yeah, there was a time when there was no social media, okay? No Facebook, Instagram, can you imagine that? Answer machines, fax machines,
Yeah.
you know.
Right. You had to actually,
Cell phones.
you had
Yeah.
to actually call a girl and break up with them.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, if anybody who's watching is probably over 40 right now and laughing and going, "Yeah, I
Sure.
get
Fair
that."
enough.
But anyway,
So
Yeah,
I didn't
so-
really have a way of like convincing the world how to pronounce the name of my cool company that I had come up with. And I don't know if you remember Nico. It was
Of course.
actually his buddy, who is kind of a rad artist, who had come up with that name. We got it from, and he did a bunch of stuff in his industry. And sorry, totally blank in your name. Saw him recently too.
He's 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that one was only 20 years ago. or-
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. 30.
Well, I just remembered that H Street bankruptcies.
There's no bankruptcy.
Really? I thought there was a bankruptcy. I thought you lost your house.
No.
No?
I sold it.
Oh, you sold it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just know that it was like all of a sudden it was like everything was gone and it was a bummer, man. Like,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was
skateboarding
full
was just kind of
remember.
declining.
Yeah.
You know, we did Evil Skateboards
Yeah.
for a while, and then
I was still there then.
yeah, at
You
a,
know?
you know, like it declined to the point where it just wasn't manageable, and snowboarding was growing. You know, and I had made some contacts in the snow industry, and really, honestly, I couldn't get far away from skateboarding enough because like Mike leaving, it was so much more than a business partnership that ended. We were best friends 4 years. We lived together for that entire time. So that was, it was a painful period of my life. And having snowboarding to go to, yeah, it was just, yeah, it just took me into a completely different dimension. I was able to round up a little bit of investment capital and work with some people that I knew from skateboarding, and all of a sudden we had a snowboard company, and it was kind of going gangbusters, and it was pretty insane, and
Are you gonna get back into them?
snowboards.
Yeah, you gonna make them.
Well, because H Street had some snowboards,
Yeah.
before we turned it into Evil,
Right.
because Evil Snowboards was a $10 million company at one point, But we had a couple of runs of H Street, so there's some designs out there that could be reissued. And one of my board makers is actually a snowboard manufacturer, and I've talked to him for a couple of years, but doing small reissue run.
We're not gonna mention Ernie though.
No, we're not mentioning Ernie. But Ernie has promised he's gonna make me some goddamn snowboards. So maybe this season, maybe next season, who knows?
All right, well, put me down. I want to get one. So, my daughter's back doing it, so I'm going to get into it.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, because I just remembered all that, and everything kind of went away and stuff, and yeah, it was a crazy time, during that time. So, anyway.
I mean, skateboarding was almost non-existent for a while there in the early 90s.
Right. Well, I just remembered it was like it did crash pretty hard,
Yeah.
and I remember you doing Evil.
Yeah.
And then I remember you were dorking around with, I shouldn't say dorking, teching around with your new shoes, with the Evil shoes that came out. I don't remember if they were first labeled as H Street shoes or if they
No.
were second, they just came in as Evil shoes.
Well, because we had ran into somebody at a trade show to do snowboard boots. And they were basically just a flip on the Airwalk boot, or maybe it was
Yeah.
Van. I think it was Airwalk. same factory, and we're like, well, we don't want to copy what they do. We want a redesign of it, you know, like construction, same thing. Colors, looks, logos, you know, our thing. But we were going to sell them to Japan. They were going to see them before we saw them,
Okay.
proximity.
Yeah.
I was a little nervous about that, and I wanted to go to the factory and see them before we ship them to Japan, just to be sure. Kind of a lot of money involved.
Yep.
And then I also had in mind that, you know, I knew that these snowboard factories that made boots, they also made skate shoes. You know, and snowboarding was great. I did a lot of snowboarding, but I came to California for skateboarding, not snowboarding. And shoes at the time were, you know, they would wear out. They were hard to get. You
Yeah,
know,
well,
Airwalk wasn't so much around.
Yeah, Airwalk was kind of declining.
Yeah.
Then Voltec, Etnies came out. Then after
Yeah, Etnies had been out.
Etnies and Duff started. Duff Shoes
Yeah.
was right behind that. And then I just remember like Osiris DC and,
DC had
and
started.
DVS
Yeah, but
all
DVS
started
was-
about the same time.
DVS was later,
Oh, okay.
and we
Was it?
started before DVS,
Okay.
quite a bit before.
Okay.
So I was going to Korea to check out my snowboard boots, and like, oh yeah, shoe factory. I'm gonna get me a lifetime supply of skate shoes. So I'm telling Nico, we're gonna design some skate shoes. You know, we're over there with napkins, drawing up these things. You know, and I'm calling back to at this point my partners
Yeah.
that we had teamed up with, Tony Chan and the
Yeah.
dudes. You know, hey, what do you guys think about starting a shoe company? And nobody wanted to do that. It's like too crazy. And I'm like, okay, I'll compromise. We'll bring him in under the name that we already have, Evil. That way we don't have to rebrand or come up with a whole new brand. So we did that, and it was insanely successful immediately. So successful that I immediately saw the writing on the wall and was like, we also make skateboards with Evil. So now we have a weird kind of a contradiction, and we're not going to be able to go sponsor skaters that ride for other board companies. And we're going to be shooting ourselves in the foot a little. So what we need to do is go back with my original idea and just start a new shoe company, just like Ken Block and Damon Way just did, because DC had just started at that. And be like Etnies, and you know, like that's the model. So I thought I was going to be able to take that name, Evil Footwear, and flip it into something new in a week or two. So we're telling all our customers, like, yeah, we know you're selling all these shoes, but like, we're going to rebrand the whole thing, but don't worry. We'll do this quickly. We'll have something for you real soon. So I laid out all these like directions on what a good shoe company should be called. And that didn't take a week or two or a month. It took 9 months before we came up with the name, which was Osiris. And then it was just off in the running, and it was a crazy 20-year time of my life. That's like half my life, where I learned everything about snowboard manufacturing and design and this and that, and again went all over the world in a completely different product.
All right. At the height of, where was
What do you mean
dollar wise?
50?
50 million?
Yeah, that was the best year. 2001, 2-ish, something like that.
Yeah,
Obviously, a lot of that was the D3.
you know, but it was a lot of everything. But the D3 definitely drove it.
Yeah.
You know, drove it. No, about it. You know, I ended up there for a few years,
Yeah,
and I do remember that 6, 8 great.
yeah.
There's a lot of people.
So let me do a little bit of bragging about myself, and a little bit of a record that I think is kind of rare in this industry. I've taken 3 different companies in 3 different industries to sales of above $10 million. H Street Skateboards in the 80s, Evil Snowboards in the 90s, and Osiris Shoes in the 2000s.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
impressive.
It is an impressive record, if I may say so myself.
But I have to say, it all comes down to, you know, is marketing.
It's
It all came
everything.
down. I mean,
It's not just
And
marketing.
you know what? Yeah, I know, but a lot of it is. I mean, you know, product is product. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, but wheels and skate.
Do you know how many
and,
times
you
I've sat with Korean and Chinese factories and have had to convince them on my vision, the brand, you know, the reason why they should support us, the reason why they should make us good stuff, not crappy stuff,
yeah.
the reason why they should give us credit. You know, like there's a lot of other things that go into a company.
Absolutely. That's the backside of it.
Yeah. It's not just marketing. I'm just gonna come up with a cool label and do some killer internet marketing. Like, no, that's not enough.
Back then, it was all about video. Okay, and you just happened to be putting out. I mean, the Storm. Think about how amazing that came out. Think about, come on, like that was it. And that's
that
how,
one was a no-brainer for me. That was just following the H3
absolutely.
model. It hadn't exactly been done in footwear of taking a team that way, but it basically, like, for me, my original idea I had for H Street, the same philosophy has been there through, the snowboard company, the shoe company. To me, it's the same company. It just has had different names and had different products. But I'm the guy that has driven, sometimes hammered into people's skulls this idea of how the company should run. It should be run by people that care about the product, that want to skate, that want to ride the shoes, that want to ride the snowboards, and then want to have a great experience.
Yeah.
Like, making money is not enough of a reason to do it.
Right. Absolutely. Comes from the passion and wanting to put out something awesome and being proud of what you're doing.
Yeah.
I get that. Absolutely. Well, I just wanted to I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to point that out too, that you have had it. I didn't know about the snowboarding side. I remember seeing snowboards, and I don't know how I missed that, time that you did that part of the company, but I think that was through CBSI or something, through that part. And I wasn't a part of that. I was out at that time. So I definitely missed the snowboard side. But at the same time, 3 companies, what you've done in the industry is amazing. I'll give you props for it. So
even though I'm the one who pointed it out.
I mean, I wanted to get there though. But
so around 2010, and this is essentially it's very important for people that are interested in skateboarding's history to recognize what the Dogtown and the Z-Boys documentary did for skateboarding. Prior to then, my view of skateboarding was that nobody cares what anyone did last month. It's, what have you done for me lately? What's your new graphics? What's your new products? I don't care what you did last season, last year, and certainly not 10 years ago. And by the time that documentary came out, I feel like the entire industry all of a sudden took a look at, like, whoa, it's 1999. We have decades of a really cool history. Look at these guys, maybe not so much the 60s, but certainly the guys from the 70s, the Jay Adams, your generation, and all through the 80s. And, like, you had the 90s, you had these different eras now to look at. And there was all of a sudden some appreciation for it, and people started collecting boards and whatnot. So by the time we get around to like 2010, I was getting calls going, dude, when are you going to reissue H Street boards? When are you going to make this? When are you going to make that? And I'm like, I'm busy. I'm running a shoe company. I don't have time for that. Like, I just skate on the stuff that I make for myself now, and I was kind of hounded into doing reissue boards, and I really didn't have the time or the bandwidth for it. I'm very thankful that these people didn't let up on bantering the crap out of me. Because I really enjoy it now. I'm very happy that is what I'm doing, and that that there is a level of interest and appreciation, maybe even a little bit of respect for what of an era that is past. Because I would have never in a million years guessed that anyone was going to give a flying crap about what we did in the 80s, the products that we made, the videos that we made, the tricks that we did, anything. I didn't think anyone would care about that. Never occurred to me that.
Yeah, I think that, was it Pizza skateboards? Or Welcome? Welcome started coming out with all our old shapes, all those styles.
Yeah.
And they were one of the first
they did
to
a little bit of a
popularize.
flip on it. Like, I like what Welcome did.
Yeah.
I think that you can say there's a lot. I mean, this gets into a little bit of a controversial thing.
Okay.
Okay. So in the 90s, when street
Yeah.
skating essentially controlled the entire industry, what
Right.
did we have? We had popsicle boards. Like, popsicle boards is great if you're a street skater and you can do a switch tray flip, and you need the board to function, equally well both sides.
Right.
If you're an older pool skater, or if you're a vert skater, or if you're not that really technical street skater, you don't need to have a popsicle shape. And the shapes that we all had, they have character. They have like a personality, and they're fun and they're cool. Whereas popsicles, they're functional. If you're a street skater, you know, and also, what, we showing shapes here?
Yeah, talk about shape.
All right. So for all the kids out there, you know, shaped skateboard, not a popsicle.
Is that an original?
This is a reissue.
That's a reissue.
Yeah. So this is my Uncle Wiggly graphic
That's on me.
that I made back in the
Okay.
day, but I switched it into 8th Street.
Okay.
You know, it's original redone.
I remember the graphic, but I don't remember that shape.
That was a very much a Christian Hosoi inspired
Yeah,
shape.
yeah, yeah. Of course. I saw
Christian
that
came
right
out with
away.
his crazy
Yeah,
fishtail hammerheads. I was
Yeah.
looking at it going like, that's crazy looking. It's kind of ugly looking, but it's actually really kind of cool. You know, like, how can you ride that? You know, like, I mean, Christian really did a lot for shapes that way in the 80s. I give him a lot of credit for that one. That crazy fishtail, I would have never thought of that in a million years. Thanks, Christian.
Yeah, right. I wonder who did that board for him.
I don't know. I don't know any of the history on that one. You have to bring him in and ask him.
I guess
I'd like
so.
to know that too.
Yeah, where he got his shape from.
You
Who
know,
did it?
yeah,
Because I mean, when he came out with that shape, I think he was like 13.
yeah, something like that.
He was like,
But then I didn't want to just do reissue boards,
right.
you know,
Right.
and also the task was pretty daunting because if you want to print something nowadays, if you want to make anything, you better have a really good computer file. You better have the high res Photoshop or Illustrator file. And you know what H Street had for computer graphics? Nothing. Not a damn thing. We didn't have computers.
Right. Yeah, do it all by hand.
Yeah.
That's how
And
I
also,
remember Scotty doing that.
yeah, I didn't have any of the original artwork that would have been helpful.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty good at Photoshop and all the computer programs, you know, design stuff. So I figured out how to, with just photos of original boards, recreate the graphics. But I mean, it's a complete redraw of graphics. And the fastest I think I've ever done one is around 30 hours. I've spent 50, 60 hours on most of them. There was one graphic that took me over 100 hours to redo. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, all the logos had to get redone, you know, like everything that a company is artistically and, you know, digitally wise now, it all had to get recreated. It took me years. I'm still working on it. I figured out that in order for me to reissue, not all the boards, just kind of the most relevant ones, that's probably 10 years worth of work for me. And I have no idea how we did this in the 80s. H3 wasn't around that long, you know, kind of a 5-year, maybe 6. I don't know how all these graphics got made.
We had like 5 people doing them.
I guess, yeah.
So I don't. I just remember like several guys, and then I remember when Arkadoy came in and he helped out a bit.
Yeah.
So,
Now, what
you
those
know,
guys did
those
art-wise
yeah,
is pretty
amazing.
amazing. Yeah, all those guys,
Yeah.
they're amazing artists.
that's fantastic.
Mhm.
So anyway, all right. Well, we kind of got through a little bit of the company, what you've accomplished. You know, it's worth talking about. That's for sure. It's amazing. But anyway, so let's get into Tony Mag and skating and contest. You know, what? Okay, other than what was that? The Texas contest. We won Texas.
Yeah, that was the one contest I won.
Yeah, I mean that you actually got props for. You actually won several contests, but
Oh, yeah, sure.
you came
Fair
into
enough.
second. I'm gonna say it. I don't care. I was at some of them, and you know, I know in Arizona, I think it was '97, you beat Tony Hawk, and
yeah, I mean, I've beat him a couple times.
but I remember
not too
that one.
many.
It was 1-on-1. It was, you know, Tony's run against your runs, and that's how it was, that format.
Yeah, I don't know if I
And
beat him in that contest.
I know you did. I remember.
I did beat Chris Miller, send him to the losers bracket, and he ended up coming back and winning that contest.
And falling.
Yeah, but
And he still beat
I
you. And you never fell. You were a machine at that
Yeah,
contest.
but I think I ended up losing to Hawk in that contest.
No. Well, you might have earlier.
Yeah.
But I just remember when it was going for like 3rd and 4th place, like at that point, you know, and you had to go up against them. I just remember like, Tony's out, Mac's done. You know, that's how much confidence I had in you, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then Tony fell, and I couldn't believe it. But I remember it was like 100. And I mean, honestly, I was there because I broke my collarbone.
Degrees, yeah.
Yeah, that was the
Crazy hot.
last contest I skated, and on my second trick, I remember breaking my collarbone, and I was
don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, and
That one sucks.
that was painful. But it was. I remember dropping in on an air, and my back slid out, and it was so hot. I just went right to my collarbone, and that was it, man. I was done. And so that was actually officially the last contest I skated.
Yeah, no, concerts are fun, but you know, like it is obviously so much controversy about contest, and there's no other way to have a skateboard contest other than to judge it.
Yeah.
And once you have judges, it's subjective, and you
Right.
have people's opinions.
Right.
And obviously, no one ever agrees with the result. There's all kinds of consternation over, well, so and so should have beat so and so,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
blah blah blah. Like, and because I've done so many contests, the competitive guy, like you have to come up with a way to deal with this.
Yeah.
Being upset and angry that you didn't place in the order you think you should have placed, or that all your friends are telling you that you should have placed in, that isn't something that is helpful to
Yeah.
concentrate on, like at all.
Yeah. No, I know, man. I remember.
So I've coined this phrase long time ago that if you want to be judged fairly, don't enter a skateboard contest. That's not what it's about. So once you understand that is how contest works, you'll do better. You'll at least enjoy it more.
Yeah.
It's not about fairness.
Fun, fun. And
Well, I mean,
And
you can try to
Yeah.
skate as good as you can. You obviously have to come up with if you're interested in winning. Not every skater that goes into a contest is even interested in winning. Plenty of guys hate contests, and they
Bullshit.
feel like they should be there, or maybe there's different reasons why they participate. A lot of guys kind of go, well, it's kind of a fun party. I'm going to hang out with all my friends. I'll take some runs, and I don't really care what happens or how I do. And it's just a fun weekend. Perfectly a good reason to go to a skate contest. You're not necessarily interested in winning if that's what you go with. Those guys rarely won. That did that. Like there's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Tony Hawk won more contests than anyone else did. I think he won half
He was
or more.
the frickin' best.
Well, first he was the best. He was the most talented.
Yeah.
But it was more than that.
Yeah.
Hawk showed up at a venue. You could see it on his face walking into the venue. It was obvious from the moment he arrived. He was there to win the contest. And he was confident enough to do it. And he behaved in a way and skated in a way and practiced in a way and held his person in a way that was conducive and consistent with winning the contest. That was the objective. Not to party and hang out with whoever the night before the contest.
Yeah. I mean, I just look at it as he showed up because he learned 5 new tricks. And everybody got to see him at the day of the contest.
That
was it.
Very smart play.
Yeah.
I mean, he was talented enough to do it.
Yeah.
And so obviously, like I looked at what Hawk did and I'm like, okay, how can I do that? How can I be more competitive and whatnot? So he was always a huge inspiration in contest wise. I actually ended up having way more fun with contest when all the Legends contests came around. The Soul Bowl contest that they ran in Huntington Beach, Hermosa, those were really fun.
So yeah, if you look right here, Tony, switch it over and you can talk about the video.
I think that was the second but on the skate contest what they did, or at least the audio. I'm pretty sure that ran with blue first. And then they painted it red. Yeah, that would have been better. Definitely had this time. Yeah. 80 skating, man. Yeah, There's some point there's one of those runs where I just ran into the channel, like the edge of the channel.
Uh-huh.
I think it's that contest.
No, I have that one. I have that one. Give me-
We'll pull it up.
Yeah, I actually
I wanna
completely forgot about it, and someone showed it to me. I'm like, oh yeah, how did I run into that channel?
40 years old.
Yeah.
You always get an excuse. You get like that. Now we got some kind of funny videos.
You know who has one of the most amazing contest records of any skater of any time? Chris Miller.
Oh yeah.
They ran in not in the 80s, all the combi contests. I think they ran 15 combi contests. He won 10. That is an amazing record.
That is an amazing record.
I don't-
You can say Tony Hawk and Del Mar. Pretty
No, in the 80s, I think Tony won half the contests. I think we
Overall.
yeah, overall, just all the, yeah,
50%
all the 80s
contest
contests,
was
yeah.
done.
Hawk would win
Yeah.
50, everyone else
Lasoy and-
shared the rest.
Yeah.
Gear, other people.
Yeah, Phillips won, McGill won. There's a few guys that won. You know, I won in Texas, although
Everyone.
Hawk wasn't there. So perhaps an asterisk on that one.
We've got
We'll say he was hurt.
we got
Yeah, I don't know why he wasn't there.
another
One fall. Tony Magnuson, our next skater.
That looks like a bad. Oh, yeah. That was me.
Tony Magnuson, get him pumped. Come on, let's hear it. Woo! Originally from Sweden. Skating on that H Street design stuff of his. Whoa, flapping that board. Each one of these skaters has 4 runs. Magnuson just hanging on, pulling each string in. Come on. Let him run out there, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's still going. That's
Was that the Jeff Jones trick? Didn't Jeff make that up?
No,
Does he make the 5
I-
or the 720? I think.
the first person I saw doing a unit was Billy Ruff, I think.
Oh really?
I'm not
Really?
sure he
Really?
invented it, but I think that's who I first saw do it.
Okay. So Billy was at the same time as Jeff. I remember seeing Jeff do it out New Jersey. But
Well, I
Billy
think
is
he
older.
had some kind
Or
of
he could
crazy
actually won
early
under-
grab, like slob grab,
Yeah.
sort of a wind up frontside 540,
Yeah, I don't know.
something or another.
Yeah, Jeff was a Harley guy. We'll say.
Jeff was a nice guy.
Yeah. He was not.
He was a nice guy.
So anyway, yeah, those were. Otherwise,
Well, that's because nobody has video cameras in the town. Well, what do you want? Yeah. I mean, there was definitely like some questionable, difficult balls. Yeah, Del Mar was definitely not. Oh yeah, Del Mar in the first. All right.
Love that.
Take good care of it.
Yeah, we have fun here, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's good to see a little bit of history and get, that's kind of what I want to do. So
That
the
McTwist
skateboard
actually violates one of the contest rules that I came up with later on.
side. Okay.
If you're in a contest,
Mm.
the feet don't come off the skateboard.
Yeah, right? That's always a good. That's a
There's
good
no
rule.
taking the feet off the
Yeah.
skateboard.
That's right. Until your run is over. Then
Sorry for that. My bad.
that's all right. Let's see if I don't have any Andes. There's some great.
Well,
great
I mean,
times
there
on
is
At that
in the H3
Yeah,
videos.
yeah.
Plenty of it.
But Yeah, Andy's footage.
At that time,
One fall. Tony Magnuson, our next skater.
So one of the things that is interesting.
at that time, we called the second half of the Not the New Age video the Summer Tour video. Like Not the New, the Summer Tour video was never really finished the way Shotgun Hocus was. It had only been shown at a couple of trade shows in promo format. So for the first time ever, here's the 8th Street Summer Tour video.
Come over here and like, you know, do a couple things here or there. Obviously, some Brazilians have come here and
Yeah.
done some amazing stuff.
Yeah,
But by and large, America dominates skateboarding until the Olympics comes around. So we go over there to Tokyo and we get 2 bronze medals. Barely. Japan, that got interested in skateboarding 5 minutes ago, they get 3 gold medals and 1 silver. It is incredibly difficult to understand how that could possibly happen. And obviously, you got to give a huge congratulations to Japan for such an amazing performance. And what is actually really interesting, of those 4 medals that Japan got, 3 of them were taken by girls.
Yeah.
And the Japanese girls are amazing skateboarders. They do have coaches. They do have coaches.
Have somebody that's keeping those
Yeah.
girls on the straight and narrow.
But
Where-
I don't know if coaches make a difference in skateboarding.
At that level, I have to say they do.
I don't know.
Because they you know, hey, you've got to learn this, we've got to do this, these are our goals today. Most kids that go out and skateboard today, they don't have like, have to make this. They don't have somebody saying, hey, you got to throw your weight or you got to move your feet.
Okay, but
Whatever
how about
the
this?
case
How about
is.
this?
All right.
Every other country
Yeah.
also have coaches. And
Yeah.
there was no other country that was like particularly successful at the Olympics.
Okay. So then what we need to do is go find out who these Japanese
I don't know
coaches
what
are
these
for
Japanese skateboarders are
Americans.
doing. And then also I'd like to mention that our rider, Yuro Nagahari, he
Yeah.
just won the Japanese championship in park skating. He got
Really?
yeah,
That's
just
awesome.
this last weekend. He got invited to the X Games.
Right.
We were pretty hyped on that.
Yeah, super hyped on that.
Yeah. Go Euro. He's awesome. I sponsored him since he was 12. It's rare to see a kid that young that skates with as much style
Yeah.
as he did. I was kind of like, wow, that's pretty rare. There's a lot of really good.
But does he surf?
Nobody snowboards.
Oh, okay.
He's a pretty badass snowboarder. I think he lives near Nagano, where the Olympics was at. And I think his dad works at the resort, so I think he's got like plenty
He's
of
got an in.
snow access. You
Yeah.
know,
He's got
so he
an
rides a
in.
lot. He's a pretty rad snowboarder. I don't know where that style comes from. You know, he's got a very unique take on skateboarding.
He's probably watching.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
He's for copying somebody's style.
I don't know if he is, or I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah,
It's amazing to watch.
no. Okay, so let's see some other contests.
Tony might go down and sing the twist. He's one of the only riders out here to do the big 540 twist. There it is, the twist 540. Tony Mag, only rider out here in this heat that's going down the big twist. Backside spin run.
Be the best skateboarder.
Side to slide. That's a 1 minute run. Let's hear it for Tony Mag.
You know, and that turned out to be a little more difficult than I thought it was going to be because, you know, Tony Hawk.
Tony might go down and sing the twist. He's one of the only riders out here to do the big 540 twist. There it is, the twist 540. Tony Mag,
And,
only rider out here
you know, when you go to
in
those
this heat that's going down the big twist. Backside spin run. Side to slide. That's a 1 minute run. Let's hear it for Tony Mag.
Hawk won most of the contest. I was like, I'm going to do the smart thing. I'm going to readjust my goal because obviously winning is very difficult to do. So my goal is to get in the top 10 or skate on the final day, like whatever the finals was. I wanted to skate in the final. And then I also wanted to do the highest air on the contest weekend because I was pretty good at that. You know, so whether it was in the contest or in practice, I just wanted people to walk away and go like, oh yeah, that freaking Swedish dude, he did the highest air. Those are my 2 goals. So then I'm sitting at skate camp with Mike Ternansky. I'm just getting to know this guy. I'm telling him this, you know, and he's looking at, you know, he had looked at me and goes like, you're a pretty damn good skateboarder. Like, how come you get like 7, 8, 9? Like, how come you're not winning these contests? I go, that's funny you should ask that, Mike. Let me tell you. So I told him this whole thing I'm telling you now, you know, and I thought I had laid out some really good logic. I was kind of explaining it the way I'm explaining to you now. And Mike sits there kind of listening like this, like, right? And then when I get to the end of my little spiel on how I set this up, Mike just looks at me, he goes, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my whole life. And I was sort of like, dude, I just met you. You're not really, you're going to tell me like, I'm the guest pro skater here. You know, I've been to a bunch of these contests, you know, like I have had a look at Tony Hawk across from the bowl or the ramp or whatever. You know, how many times have you done that? You know, oh, you mean never?
Yeah.
So how is this the dumbest thing you've ever heard? You know, like I was a little pissy at this point, right? And it's getting kind of late at night, and we sit and debate this shit, right? I'm sitting there listening to him, and he's telling me that, you know, like, why would you go to a contest where the object is to get first place and not try to get first place? You know, the point is to win. Yeah, it's fun to have fun. You know, I get all that, right? But why would you waste your time if you're not going to try to win? And I'm sitting there trying to explain to him how difficult it is to win, and you end up disappointed. What's the point of being disappointed? You know, so I thought I had great arguments. We debated this for hours. It's like 3 in the morning now. And he was just relentless, you know, and in the end, he actually had better arguments than I did, you know, and
He is right.
so, you know, I kind of struck a deal with him. Like, he sort of was my coach then at the time.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
all right, well, you know, if I'm going to go back to, you know, like that freaking slave pit of trying to win and like being disappointed every time you don't win, you know, like at least you're going to do is come help me.
Yeah.
So he agreed. And that's kind of how that went, you know. And Mike was 100% correct in what he said that night to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ended up winning that many contests, but I ended up doing a lot better. So I moved from kind of the bottom 10
Yeah.
to more like the top 10. And I was having a much better time doing it. And the one thing that he said that is like, when you get older, you're going to regret not having tried your absolute best, you know, bled in the pool, you know, like, and like, you know, like you don't leave anything behind because you're going to think about it later when you're older. Well, what if I would have tried better? And he's correct. You know, I gave it everything I had. There isn't any one thing I could have done more. And I'm happy about that. He was right.
Yeah, contests. When I was skating contest, I always just, you know, after the first year, the second year, I guess it was the third year. After that point, I just knew like they had everybody kind of earmarked as to, okay, these guys are going to be the top 3. This is the top 6. This is the top 9.
Oh, so you feel like it was kind of like rigged ahead of time?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I just figured everybody kind of had a spot when you go in there. I could look
Yeah,
at people and say, okay, you know, there were certain guys who could skate better in big pools, and then other guys skated better in little pools, you know, because they could do all their little tricks, whether it was lip tricks or whatever it was, you know. And so going into it, I always looked at it like, okay, this is a big pool. There's 4 guys that I got to think about, you know, and those are the guys I have to beat. So anyway, but that's how I did it on that. But my first year, man, I thought I could win every contest. There was just no. I did. I went in there with the attitude I'm gonna win.
Yeah.
Every time. I remember
That's the best approach.
I remember at the
Every contest, right?
marina contest I did that, and I won it. And I remember
Nice.
I was sitting at a table like this with all the guys from Dogtown, Z Boys. We had a little altercation like 2 or 3 contests before, and I showed up there and I
Are you saying
was.
the Dogtown guys didn't really appreciate the San Diego guys? Like,
No, they didn't like us very much.
Oh,
You
I'm so
know,
shocked to hear
we
this.
kind of had to. We kind of had to earn their respect a little bit, you know. And I guess
Is it possible that this feeling of dislike was perhaps mutual?
you know what? I was such a young, dumb kid. I had no idea like there was anything like up. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't read the magazines. I didn't even know there was magazines back then. I didn't give a crap, you know? And, but I learned it at the Oxnard contest. And I remember I was like #1 going into the finals. Then one of the Dogtown guys found out I was from Spring Valley, and then he took me out, basically out of the contest. So I couldn't finish. I couldn't skate it. And then I went to Marina. And then at that point, I was sleeping in the parking lot. And they knocked on my window and said, hey, you know, because of some stuff that happened at the Oxnard contest, they were like, you know, you can come stay at my house. And I went and stayed at Jimmy Plumer's house.
Oh, cool.
And, you know, everyone was staying there. It was just a zoo.
Yeah.
And, but I remember sitting there, the San Diego guy, with all of those guys there. And I just sat there and I was eating some cereal. And I was like, I just want to let you guys know I'm winning today. And that was that. And you guys, none of you guys have a chance. And those guys were like, you know, of course, going off on me and throwing stuff at me.
I'm surprised to hear that.
It was pretty funny.
This is not a popular announcement, you're saying?
No, it wasn't.
Okay,
No,
okay.
and I don't care. And I didn't care at that time. You know, at that time, you know, things had changed a little bit. But it was funny as heck. And then I went and won. But I just knew it, man.
Nice.
Like, I knew going into
Called
that
it
thing.
and you went and won.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
fair
called
enough.
it and I
Yeah.
went and won it,
Yeah.
man. And
It's,
I remember
all
the
good in the hood.
I remember like the first day I ended up in 7th place, and I stuck around. I was watching everybody's run, so that next day, that night after the first day of the contest, I stuck around and skated, and just like stole everybody's best line. And I just knew like, okay, if I do this, I do that, and I can do this, and I'll win. And I did, and then I won it, and I was just like, the check, like, oh yeah.
I think skateboarding in the 70s was a little more competitive that way. A little more confrontationally
Oh yeah,
competitive.
totally. There was a lot of vibing.
Yeah.
You know, there was
Yeah.
a lot of. It was all good.
I mean,
You know,
I actually kind of like that because I feel like that's a little more, it's also a little more honest.
yeah.
You know, I'm not crazy about the idea that you go to a contest and it feels like people are kind of like so superficial. Everyone's just so supportive of everyone, and when they're really there to try to win.
Hell, I never saw that ever.
Yeah, no, it's skateboarding has that. I mean, skateboarding actually got a lot of credit for that in the Olympics. They're like, oh, look at all the athletes; they're so supportive of each other.
Yeah.
And on that level, I actually thought it was kind of nice. I thought that was cool.
The Olympics,
Yeah.
but not at the X Games.
I mean, you want to see guys compete against each other.
Yeah,
If
of
you're
course.
watching, you know, yeah, you want to see Bucky Lassick go against Bob Burnquist, you know, and like maybe they're not best friends, you know,
Yeah,
that it's a competitive
but I
thing.
think they're okay with.
Oh yeah, no, they're totally good friends, you know, but
I don't know anyone bad at Bucky.
no, but it would be
my
nice
question
if
is-
these guys were a little more, if there was a little more, you know,
Yeah.
sauce on the deck, you
Yeah.
know, like if there was a little more
So
confrontation.
maybe we should go
Oh,
create.
DP.
Maybe we should go.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe we should go create
For
some.
example.
Right? Right? Go create some.
yeah, can we get a little bit of DP in
Yeah.
here, you know?
Oh gosh, man.
Not too much though, but just a little bit.
Don't shave the eyebrows in the bathroom.
We'll get DP on the show, and we'll have to see what he has to say about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So yeah, let's plug it in. Yeah. So.
At a backyard party over at Lassick's house. Big
Oh.
5-0
Oh yeah, so
over at Lackey's house.
my wife did this. So this is my 40th.
Count your money in it.
Yeah.
That's all
That's
right.
good.
Hey, how's it
No,
going,
no, no,
man?
no. Yeah, it's 50. So my wife
That's where
put
the
this whole
wind
thing together.
like to
as
go
a
down
pizza
slow.
party. She had Francesca come over here from Italy.
Tonight we gonna roll,
New Zealand.
baby,
I didn't know
roll.
a damn thing. She had a
Get
band.
some waffles and bring a
And
bottle
we were walking up
home.
the hill to Bucky's.
Mighty fine.
Right there.
50 years old at a backyard party over at Lassick's
It was
house.
just like insane. It was a bad session.
Big 5-0
Yeah, I didn't get an invite.
over at Lackey's house.
Yeah, you better talk to him, man. Yeah, I had no clue this was going on. You can't talk to me about it.
That's all right.
Hey, how's it going, man? At 40.
That's where the women
Yeah, my 40th. Yeah.
like to go
I
down.
made this point of doing a 540 on my 40th birthday.
Tonight we gonna
That's
roll,
540.
baby, roll. Get
No,
some
that- the
waffles
time
and bring a bottle home.
Yeah.
Roll, baby, roll.
Yeah.
All night long.
Yeah, so I think I got that right around 540. You don't get to my
I didn't hear about or get the being that we went through so much together.
Yeah, no, that
years,
was-
might be a lot.
That was quite the party.
Yeah.
I think it's more. Monica is not from skateboarding, so she might not know who everybody
Yeah,
is.
I'm good. I'm good. That's cool.
Well, you're from the 70s. You guys take everything.
Grind, what's it gonna be? Straight up and down with the lean air.
That looks like the beginning. Oh, okay, yeah.
Big backside ollie, front side ollie, channel.
And the Virginia Beach guy.
Takes the ollie, grabs the tail. Tony Magnuson all over the ramp with that burial. Baby switch stance.
Not from my camera.
Tony Magnuson, all right. Watch the board.
Making sure.
No.
Yeah. Big air guy.
Yeah, super air.
There's no big air guys from
Oh, heck
East
yeah.
Coast. Oh, Sergio. Yeah. All right, I was wrong. Sergio. Yeah, he was amazing.
You held the
There you go.
what was it? Which one is that right there? Mag?
This is doubles
Doubles with whom?
in Brazil with
Oh.
Sergio.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's Sergio Nagao.
Well, it's Sergio
Oh.
Nagao.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that was.
Not Ventura.
Yeah, he did that rodeo flip. Like it was basically a frontside 540, not grabbing, so not a unit.
Yeah.
He did that in the 80s, like way before that became popular.
Yeah, I have a feeling there was a lot of Brazil.
I don't think I sent you the shot, but he showed up at one of Eddie's things. The Elgato Classic thing. And we redid this doubles shot like in 2014, 15, like a few years ago.
Really?
Yeah,
We have this shot.
that's obviously a pretty classic 80s shot. We
Yeah.
turned that into an ad. Like the two kids are sitting there talking, and he goes like, "When's Mag coming over?" And the other kid goes, like, "Oh, he said sometime later," like insinuating.
I remember that
Yeah.
dumb ad.
Pretty clever. I don't know who made the ad.
I remember it. All right. Well, did you hear or say anything about Eddie on the next Elgato? In case anybody wants to hear about.
I don't know anything about it, but I'd heard that he's going to do it at the new skate park, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what's going to go on?
Yeah. It's happening in November
Okay, cool.
on his birthday.
Yeah,
So if you know Eddie's birthday,
that should be great.
that's when the next Elgato is happening.
I don't know when his birthday is, but I
was
hope I
there.
get an invitation.
I'll make sure.
Hey, you know what's funny? We were talking about Eddie or La Quinta the other day. So he texted me like an hour after we talked about it. I haven't talked. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah.
I almost thought that maybe you had said something to him or something.
I might
He
have.
he texted me and goes like, "Man, when are you gonna come out and skate the new combi?"
Hmm.
And I'm like, kind of felt bad about it, So I was like, "Oh, I didn't get an invitation yet."
Good.
And he's like, "Dude, you can come anytime you want."
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right."
Yeah, Eddie has a thing down there. I went down there last week. I was skating the pump track and goofing around in there, and he's got the guys that work there. If anybody old like comes in, they have to call him, tell him who's there.
Oh, so he's the guy that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because I came in there and I just like the old guy signing in. I didn't say anything about it. And he called Eddie and said, "Hey, Dave Hendricks here." He's like, "No way, I'll be right there." And then Eddie came down, and so did Donna and stuff, and we talked for about an hour.
Nice.
It was a good time to visit.
Yeah.
So
They're awesome.
me and my daughter are gonna go back down there probably next weekend and
Oh yeah.
go cruise down there and check it out again. But we're gonna go in the evening this time because it was like 97 degrees when we were there. It was a little hot, and yeah, I hadn't sweated like that in a while.
I was thinking about going out there and like staying at some cool little hotel or something, like on the weekend
I'll probably just go down there.
and skate at night.
Yeah, gotta go in the evening. At 3 o'clock, it's like still 105 degrees, but it was nice because there was a breeze that day, so it was cool. And the combi is really nice. It's just a little bit smaller.
Did you skate it?
But I did not.
Okay.
I didn't have the right board, so I brought my my pump track cruiser instead. But it was a lot of fun. We had a good time skating. So
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to checking it
yeah,
out.
they're gonna have a race in that thing, so it's gonna be a timed race.
Oh yeah.
So there's no judges.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a little slippery. There's one corner that's a little bit slippery. You gotta kind of dodge it a little bit. I know Tony Hawk and his people were all there, and a couple of them slammed pretty good in that far corner.
Oh, really?
In the first corner, yeah. So at least I was told all about it when I was there.
Bringing softer wheels that are grippier.
Yeah, maybe. Or yeah, for you, for sure. Yeah, bring really soft wheels. And I'll bring my hard wheels. I'll just dodge the corner so I can keep up and pass you.
Second place qualifier.
It's a weird track because the first part of it's really fast.
And he's starting off in the shallow,
Forward.
getting some speed to carry into the round wall.
So,
Look at that, nice big frontside air.
okay, so where's this one here, Mag? Oh, this is
And again, now he's heading over to the square. You do one trick in each bowl, it's gonna take a lot of energy to get around.
Little bottom landing on that backside air.
Yep.
Lucky to keep his
One of
speed.
the
Ooh, nice corner air.
contests.
Yeah,
Definitely a bottom landing.
We've talked about it before. It's so hard to get your speed back and get your rhythm if you have a tricky landing and come off your line in this bowl.
Yeah, I mean, if you could just power up into an axle stall and kind of catch your breath, but you really can't. You
Yeah, the
have
first
to
few
just
contests
keep
were jams.
pumping. And even regular runs, the amount of pumping you have to do in this bowl is not like a vert ramp. It is.
I mean, it was the battlefield.
It
It
was
was nuts.
It was. And I felt sorry for anybody trying to drop in because they were going to get crushed. Because as soon as somebody else saw somebody dropping in, people would immediately go into it. So they couldn't drop in. So they couldn't get the skates. They couldn't get their points. So
Yeah,
I saw
they would
so many people who were just, somebody's dropping in. And they didn't just snake them.
Yeah,
And,
not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, man.
Not for the easily
That
offended.
was but I the whole time you're just like, oh my god, it's
Yeah.
insane,
Yeah.
So
And that was
yeah.
also in the old plaster version. That thing was really gnarly to skate. When they fixed it to concrete, when they redid
Yeah.
it, that's the single biggest upgrade of a pool or a ramp that I've ever seen. It was a night and day
Well, it
difference.
was like a bumpy slow pool and then it went really fast. I mean, I remember skating it when it was the original.
Yeah, the plaster.
Okay, yeah, the plaster. And to me it was like slow and bumpy-ish. Like
Oh, yeah.
you had to really
It wasn't that good.
No.
But it was one of the
wasn't.
first pools that was built in the 90s, if not the first one.
Yeah.
So I think all the guys that built the good pools in the 70s, I think there was a little bit of art that was lost,
I think those are called kinks.
Yeah, it was,
Back in the day, man,
it was
we had-
kinky.
yeah, we
The
had-
coping was gigantic
Yeah.
in some places,
Exactly.
and every wall was very
Uneven.
different.
Yeah.
Back then, when I set up my lines for the contest, I only did certain tricks on certain walls. I would never move the invert from that wall to this wall.
Yeah.
You would learn a certain tricks on a certain wall, so you didn't have to because the walls were so different.
Yeah.
And when they redid it, it was like oh my god, you can do any trick on any wall. It wasn't perfect then either.
Yeah.
But it was 100 times better.
Okay, right now, best skate park you ever skated?
it's almost an impossible question because
It is so many.
I-
Let's just say that then.
yes,
Okay.
there's that, and
All right.
also, I mean, I say this, you know, like as a concept, the combi shape, the round pool,
Okay.
the square pool, the
Yeah.
main hip,
Yeah.
the shallow end, that shape of pool is by far the best skateboarding structure if you skate vert or bowls, you know.
Okay.
I'm not talking about street skaters. Oh, I like this rail or a
Yeah,
hubba
yeah.
or whatever, you know. But the shape of the combi
Yeah.
is so good that it's a crime that there isn't a good combi pool in every single state. And California should have like 10 or 20 of them. Different sizes, you can flip them a little bit, you know, you can mess around with it a little bit. But there's too many skate park designers that like build stuff. They're like looking at the computer going, oh yeah, this would be sick. Why don't we put this here? And you know, like no one's ever done this before. You know, and it's a fun like design project for them.
Yeah.
And then you go put the concrete out there. It's actually not that good.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't get skated, you know. Skate park designers should be very conservative. 90% of what they build in public skate parks should be stuff they know for a fact works well, gets skated a lot. If they want to experiment with something, 10%.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, don't build a giant freaking bowl and think that you're gonna like, oh, this would be cool if we do it this way. Yeah, how do you know?
Well, the crazy thing I look at is you see something that works amazing, okay, and then why not duplicate that for
Yeah.
the next town over?
Yeah.
And so
Build
then
more-
you have
yeah,
two
take
of
the
it.
stuff that
and it's-
works
Yeah.
Build more of it.
Yeah. So I agree 100% on that.
Yeah.
So
Because you know,
Like-
concrete is kind of permanent.
yeah.
You don't really get to change it or
You don't
fix
get
it
to change
or you
once
know.
it's there, man.
Yeah.
Once it's there, it's done.
Yeah.
And if it's not fun, then wasted a couple $100,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Shoot. Okay. So, all right. So, but there's not, okay. So the combi pool is like what you did. You don't like I know when I was skating, I could probably sit there and say, you know, everybody was like, Apple was great. Cherry Hill, you know, like, I don't know. Did you ever skate those? Okay. Okay. So, you know, like the only thing I didn't like about those parks is they were both indoor. Okay. And you would skate for like a half an hour or an hour or two. And it was so dusty inside that it was just like hard to breathe. It's just, that was what I hated about it. It was just kind of dirty inside, you know,
I mean, I have
because of
indoor
that.
ramps,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean,
So-
probably one of the best ramps I ever skated was the first DC ramp that Danny did
Mhm.
in Carlsbad. Vista Carlsbad. That was in. I mean, that was inside. He just had a great set of features on it. We had amazing sessions there. I mean, like skate park wise, you know, like, I mean, right now, Linda Vista is probably the best skate park in San Diego. Although I like the City Heights Bowl
Okay.
better than Linda Vista Bowl. You know, the Van skate parks in Huntington, that thing is
Yeah.
awfully amazing. They also have the best combi pool in the world. Although I didn't agree with the fact that they flipped it.
Yeah.
I think that was a bad call. And all of my lines that I have from indoors, they don't work. So it's like starting over, you know, and I
That's
didn't
right.
think it was worth it. If there was already 5 great combis in Southern California, and someone goes like, hey man, we already have 5, why don't we flip the next one? Like, okay, fair. That's a fair experiment, you know. To do it with the only other one that we had at the time, not a good idea.
Okay. Yeah, because you never skated Spring Valley, did you? Skate park?
No, never skated.
They have to.
Came
the
to San
parks.
Diego after it was closed.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, well, I
It-
yeah,
it-
pretty
it's like
close to
3
the
months
80.
after you got here.
Might have been. I know that, like, for me, that was everything in that park was just, other than the Soul Bowl itself, that had the big kink in it. But you got over the
Most
kink.
of the skate parks
Yeah.
in the 70s
Oh, yeah, yeah.
were pretty kinky. I
Yeah.
mean, all the original stuff that people rant and rave about now, I mean, Del Mar was terrible.
Terrible.
It was absolutely horrible.
Every pool. Every
Yeah.
pool was kinked up and or just bumpy or lumpy and
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
I mean, Marina was really pretty good. You know, you
Yeah,
could
Marina
give that
upper
some
keyhole.
credit.
And
But then the upper keyhole, like a keyhole, it's just a round bowl. There's nothing. Same with Del Mar for that matter. That was also just round. You
Yeah.
know, there isn't anything to it. Great to skate. You know, I mean, Big O, kind of a
Capsule,
challenge,
the
kind of
capsule.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Probably the best bowl I skated back then that was the most enjoyable and the best build was probably Big O's Clover. That thing was so
Wow.
perfect. You know,
Yeah, I forgot about Big O had, their little keyhole was really fun too, as well. So Big O had a lot of good stuff in that. Those 3/4 pipes were a little bit
Yeah,
bumpy.
I
They were
like
they were a little bit bumpy, but
I was kind of over them
yeah.
skating half pipes or like oververt things. That just seemed like a waste of concrete.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I skated some fun pipes in my days, so you know. Anyway, but I still wish that they're redoing Spring Valley right now. Actually,
Oh, they're getting a new skateboard?
yeah, they're getting a new one, and they're supposed to be doing it exactly the same as the old Soul Bowl and everything else.
Oh, really? Like, they're doing like a
hopefully-
replica of the
yeah,
original?
Hopefully they
Oh, that's kind of cool.
hopefully they take the kink out.
Yeah. Like, don't replicate the king.
But who knows?
There's plenty of stuff that could
You
just
know.
stay in the 80s.
But
or
yeah, I
in
know
the
the
70s.
Clover at Spring Valley was amazing. The Round Bowl was amazing. Like bowl in the back. The snake run there was incredibly probably the funnest thing you could go skate. You could spend hours in that thing.
Do you remember the Colton snake run?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's big and
Yeah,
it got bigger
that
as
was
it
good.
went down. That was fun, but Spring Valley's was still funner to me because it was kind of the same thing. It had 3/4 lips on it, so you can go up underneath it. Kids today would be, like I couldn't even imagine what kids today would do. So yeah.
5-0 grinder.
Oh no, they'd board slide around the 3/4 pipe, and you'd just be like, well, sometimes I think, man, I'm so happy I didn't skate, now as opposed to back then when I see some of these kids just absolutely killing it. But then I think, back then I would have done it too, but now my knees are gone, so and that's another thing. I see kids skating all the time without pads. And I know how
That's not entirely true.
I see a lot of kids skating without pads.
No, they have a pad. You just don't see it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
No.
Called
No.
jeans.
Yeah.
And your butt.
Okay.
They butt slide.
Yeah.
I knee slide.
Okay.
It's essentially the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Bad
Okay.
rats.
You can say what you want. Just saying, like, I know how bad my body is now, and I had pads. I wore them religiously.
Well, and you can also see that, if you look at the street skaters,
Yeah.
from the 80s or even from the 90s, they don't skate anymore.
Yeah.
Except Ron Allen.
Yeah, right.
Ron is an amazing human being. He's the only street skater I know from any like 80s, 90s era. And he's out skating, I don't know about every day, but certainly several times a week. Now all he talks about is skateboarding, obviously music and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you look at the vert guys and more of the park guys that wore pads, like me, like look at Hawk.
Yeah.
He's as good as he
Yeah.
ever was.
Yeah.
Christian skating, cab skating. I mean, everyone's still skating
Yeah.
because transition pads,
Are perfect. Yeah.
little easier on the body.
Yeah.
In that sense.
That's true. So, but I still, I don't know. I screwed myself up. So, anyway.
But you got to give kids that skate without pads. You got to give them credit for learning. Not just they butt slide. They also have you seen the shoe slide? They have a pretty mean shoe slide. That one's pretty impressive too.
Go through shoes a lot now.
Yeah, well they kind of just put their feet out and they slide on their shoes. Like the same way as I slide on knee pads.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the butt slide and the shoe slide.
Oh.
So they're running out. They're obviously much better at skateboarding too, so maybe they don't fall quite as much.
All right. Is there any other pictures and stuff that we have like
we
that?
got 2 videos left.
All right. Let's see what
Second
Mag's
place
made of.
qualifier.
So we're gonna redo. This is the band full party.
Yeah.
We're play it again so you can
Gets
talk
some
over it.
speed, carry into the round wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that frontside car was terrible.
Yeah,
Too many.
nice big
Oh, that was
frontside air.
frontside air was horrible.
Well, didn't you get like top 5 in this or 4th place in this
Best
contest
prize
or?
I ever got
or
in one of
third?
these contests was third.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a lot of energy to get around.
Actually, believe it or not, I actually would go to every. I wouldn't miss these.
Yeah, I remember seeing there a lot.
Definitely
Always
a lot
been
Look
of
at those
like
low
this
landings,
thing.
man.
We've talked about it before. It's so hard to get your speed back and get your rhythm.
Yeah, no, these contests
Have a
were
tricky landing and come off your
amazing,
line
and
in this
like I
ball.
said, Miller's
Yeah, I mean, if you could just
Yeah.
power up into
record
your
of winning
action
10
stall,
of
kind
these
take a catch your breath, but you really
is
can't.
one
You have to
of
just
the
keep
most
pumping.
notable,
And,
amazing records
even regular runs,
in
the amount of pumping you have to do in this
skateboarding
bowl is
contest
not
history.
like
It just
perfect.
is.
It is
Combi does
For
not
your
let you
legends, during the legends period, you had a really time.
Yeah, I mean, like I did what most of my runs there.
So we're winding down the competition here in the Legends Bowl, the Dew Tour Pantech Beach Championship from Ocean City, Maryland. They call him T-Mag, Tony Magnuson, originally from Sweden, now living in Southern California. And
This thing was pretty cool. This is a really cool structure.
And did you see he gave us
That is
blue
a
steel?
portable
He gave us a
concrete
look before he
bowl.
dropped in, and I think he meant business with it.
He does have Eye of the Tiger right now.
Yeah.
I can see it.
And the transitions
There
were
goes Tony
pretty.
Mag.
Yes.
Oh.
Frontside 540 in
And
the
then they would
deep
pour
end.
the flat bottom, some of the
Backside
transition
ollie,
pieces.
no hands.
in
Keeping it going
place.
with the frontside grind
And,
through the corner. Taking it
I
back
only
up
got
into
to
the
skate
shallow.
this thing
Much better run, Tony Mag,
couple of
using the whole
times, a
bowl,
couple
not
of
just going
contests.
back and forth in the deep section.
It's fun. It was
That
made really well.
frontside inverted frontside 540
And
is
for a
gonna carry
while,
some
both
large
me and
points for him.
Chris, we were working with the Dew Tour. We were trying
He's
to
psyched.
get
Yeah,
it set up.
T-Mag.
Tony gets a full pole on his fourth and
You
final
ride it
run.
right. But that thing was only set up a handful of time at Dew Tour contests, which is too bad. It's probably sitting in a warehouse somewhere now. You know.
Actually, Chris just had a video on YouTube about it, talking about how they put it all together. So it's not in the warehouse; they're actually putting it on.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's amazing.
They didn't call you?
They didn't call me. No.
I guess you better call him.
Maybe I will.
Give him a call and find out what the heck, man.
Yeah.
I hate missing invitations. No?
I have a bit of a special relationship with Mr.
Yes, I know you do.
And especially from driving up to the combi, you know, like we both drove to the combi a fair amount, you know, so fun discussions on the way up and on the way
okay.
down.
I got you.
So, you know, driving as friends, you know, skating together as friends,
Yeah.
competitors on the day of the contest.
Yeah, the one day of the year you don't like each other very much.
No, I
I'm
actually,
kidding.
I, you know, like the people I competed with, I like all of them. I think they're all freaking amazing human beings. They're obviously amazing skateboarders.
Just want to beat him.
And
That's all.
well, yes, I actually kind of look at it this way. You know, I play a lot of pool with Chris Clicks. He's my photographer. He's the guy that I started shooting photos with
Gotcha.
recently,
Yeah.
and he is a damn good pool player. Now I beat him a lot more than he beats me. So
Wow. That's saying something about myself, aren't it?
my goal,
Let's go doubles.
I've figured out that my goal is for Chris to beat me. I'm going to be a lot happier when he comes over to my house and he beats me. Now, because if he can do that, he's having a great day. That's actually the reason why I'm late to this podcast, because me and Chris are playing pool. He hasn't been down at my house for a while.
Are you kidding me? That's why you showed up late?
Yes.
He wasn't late. He was right on time. He was here when I thought he was going to be here at 5:30.
It was actually later than that.
No, when I called you, we were playing pool.
Oh, you were? Okay. Good. We'll just finish this game. Don't worry. Andrew will be fine. Good, man. That's why we told you to get here 2.5 hours early.
Got it.
We know Tony Mag. So
Chris is an amazing guy. He came to skateboarding a few years ago, and he shoots really great creative photos. Yeah,
Alright.
I think he's one of the best skate photographers in the game right now.
What a photo that you sent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
several.
speaking of shooting, Tony Mag likes guns. Right? You've been doing that at all lately?
No.
How about that compound bow?
I gotta fix it. Something broke on it.
Uh-oh. Really?
But I found a place around here that fixes stuff like that.
Okay. So I want to come back up and,
Yeah.
and shoot again. A lot of fun.
So if you go shooting,
So-
you're going to call us and we'll go film it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That would be fun.
Except for where we shoot from, if we miss the target, it hits his ramp.
I know. I gotta
Goes right
put
into
something
the ramp.
behind it.
Yeah.
I gotta have
Right
some
in-
kind of catch
If there's
thing.
anybody-
Yeah, if anybody's skating, man, we got problems.
Yeah.
What's that hole right there?
Well,
Yeah.
mostly have problems if you're shooting. I remember shooting that target, hitting it every time.
I see. Okay.
Right?
That's not
Okay.
exactly how I remember it, but I'll take your word for it.
Oh, you always forget the good stuff. Oh man. All right. Well, are we ready to?
Well, ask him what he's doing currently.
Okay. Well,
What are you doing now?
So currently, I do what I talked about earlier. I run 8th Street together with a wife. So a lot of my job consists of producing the social media content. I work with Chris on photos. I have a team of artists that I work with to. We do a lot of reinterpretations of original graphics, and we also do a number of new graphics because I can't just do reissues.
Right.
You know, we have a current team, we have a little girl division, and so we have a lot of activities going on. So to deal with graphic productions and just manufacturing, that takes up an enormous amount of time, and especially in the last few years during this whole pandemic. And I still obviously skate 2, 3 times a week. Got my own little bowl in my yard, so I skate that thing.
you
And
got a lot of private ramps up.
yes, we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vista
So-
is it's funny because like Vista became the center of 8th Street back in the day. We
Yeah,
were not
right.
located in Vista. I have never lived in Vista. And for some reason, a couple of years ago, me and my wife moved to Vista. And it's just kind of a funny thing, like it's sort of like,
From where it started.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like coming home to some place that, yeah, it's just funny. Yeah,
This is a picture of Mag's ramp.
yeah. So that's when it was being built. It's like halfway done at that point. We're just skating on the plywood. And, Chris shot that photo. And, yeah, kind of a fun little photo. Chris shot that photo. You look at like the artistic, impression there with all the different weird lights and stuff he's got going on. I mean, it actually turns out that the best photos I've shot of my entire skateboard career, I've shot in the last few years since I met Chris. That's obviously a super classic photo from the 80s. That was probably one of the highest airs done without the help of giant roll-ins that you see on vert ramps
Right.
nowadays. Me and Christian were standing at the new Houston ramp a couple years ago. We're sitting there looking at that giant roll-in, and we're, 'cause he knows the same thing I know. Generating the speed of a ramp that just, has 2 walls is probably the harder part than doing the air itself, And we're looking at those giant roll-ins where you get all the speed you'd ever want for free. You didn't have to generate it.
Yeah.
We're just laughing at it, going like, "Can you imagine like the airs we would have done?" That right there is a really high air on a concrete half pipe in Brazil. That thing is only like 9.5 tall or something.
Is that the one that's out in the woods? It's got a little tiny channel.
It does have a channel, but it's not out in the woods. It's
Yeah, I was gonna say,
it's
that looks
that thing's
like
not
it's-
there anymore.
Yeah.
It was somewhere in
You know what I'm
Sao Paulo. But yeah, generating speed off of ramp in the 80s, insanely difficult.
Well,
There was
I mean,
really only a
think about
handful
it-
of people that
think
could do
about
it.
in 70s, trying to generate and get speed.
Yeah,
on it,
true.
So, especially with kinks and everything else. I
Yeah.
was skating Upland, and the first time I ever dropped in to the face wall, I body slam.
I
I had
mean,
no idea.
you know about the original Upland Combi?
Yeah.
That thing was
In the round
freaking
ball.
gnarly.
Yeah.
That thing was insane.
I watched Steve Elba drop during a contest. Fell slammed. I was like, saw the blood coming out of his head. I'm like, oh, out of the contest. All right, like one less guy to worry about. And he goes to the hospital, gets about 6 or 8 stitches in his head, comes back, and I was like, holy shit, And he was ripping, man. I was like, oh man, he's back. Yeah, but so I got mass respect for that.
Talk about that.
No question about it.
This photo was shot by one of the original super gnarly photographers. That was shot by Daniel Harold Stewart.
Oh wow.
And he is, yeah, it's a Stewart photo. And he was one of those guys that, like, he had a way of finding an angle and perspective on skateboarding that turned it into just art in a way that, like, that photo from where he's, I would have never thought of shooting a photo from there.
Well, I'm gonna get Daniel in here.
I'd be kind of
Yeah.
amazed if you did.
No, I am. I will. I am. Daniel and I were good friends, and give him a call. He'll come in.
I will be very impressed
Yeah.
and interested in seeing what he has to say.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, no, he was hands down one of the most artistic guys in photography.
Still is. Still on it. Still skating. You know, he's the guy who still smoking down a big hill at 60, 65 miles an hour.
I know he was really into that.
And
yeah.
not wearing any pads and being mad that cars are in his way.
Yeah, right.
Like, these guys are in my way. Oh, that's comedy.
Yeah, no, I mean, he shot an amazing amount of photographs now. But I think he was the last guy from that era before digital cameras came around. You know, like the guys that shoot with digital cameras. Like I've had this beef with the photography thing.
Oh boy.
You know, like that the digital camera made it easy to shoot a good photo. And the guys are out shooting with digital cameras, you know, they shoot great photos. They're skaters.
Yeah.
They know where to sit. They know how to be in the right angle, you know, shoot at the right time. It's a great photo. And I feel like that there is an artistic angle to it that got lost from the film days to the digital days. And I think that even some of the guys back when they shot film, you know, like a lot of some of the greatest photos that we've seen, they were almost shot by accidents. Them screwing around, trying different things, not really knowing what the camera's going to do, and you know they go to develop it and go like, "Oh wow, look how
turned out awesome."
yeah, like look how cool that looks. Look how artistic it is. You know, like this weird blend and flashes, and you know,
Yeah, the biggest mistakes sometimes in photography like that were the best.
Yeah.
Because I know when I was in film class, I had camera class, whatever, and I was in like 10th grade. And I took a picture and I didn't forward it, and I took another picture over the same picture, and that was like I think I won like a class photo.
because it was
thing
cool and
because-
artistic.
yeah, and I had no idea. It was a complete
photography is not
screw up.
just like-
Yeah,
a production environment. It is art, or it should be art, you know. And that's one of the things that I think that Chris brought back to skate photography is an artistic impression on it. There's actually another guy that is good friends with Francesco. He's an Italian photographer, Piero. And he's actually a professional photographer by trade. He shoots a lot of different things. And he's a skater. And so he brought a whole different level of photography, art, and skills to the game. And super cool dude. I've skated with him a bunch of times. I'm kind of lucky to be good friends with what I consider two of the best skate photographers.
all right.
Cool.
Anyway, so yeah, I think we've kind of run over everything.
Yeah.
I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We're gonna wrap this thing up right now, and next show will be Thursday again. I'll have another special guest, and I'll let everybody know. Keep an eye on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, and we're gonna introduce it all, so you guys can take a look. And we're just gonna talk about history, and got some really big people coming on. Kind of haven't been in the. They just haven't been in the skate scene in a long time. They're going to come on the show. I've already talked to them, and it'll be really interesting to see what they have to say. They've been out of the industry a long time. One's been out for 40 years, but everybody knows and loves him. And the other guy, you can guess, but you'll never guess. But maybe you'll guess because I'm not going to say yet who it is, but they're going to be on the show here real soon. So it's sometimes it's hard to get these guys in. Hopefully, well, one will come in. One is going to have to be done on a phone because he is not living too close here. But anyway, it'll be fun. So anyway, hey, thank you for coming and showing and watching. And until next week, take care and have a great day. Okay.